Hello YouTube. This is going to be a really off-the-cuff response video to StaySafe, like a react video to StaySafe's most recent video where he goes over hardcore. I'm going to watch it and just add my own commentary. I've been an on and off hardcore WoW player for over 2 years. I think I started like my first hardcore after Cargos got his warrior to 60. The one where he was doing the videos, the orc warrior, where he was soloing Cyclonian, and like, it was like a whole series. Been just on and off hardcore player. I play retail a little bit. I play all forms of WoW. I play hardcore, play era, and play retail, and I think that they each have something distinct to offer, and I think that the changes that a lot of YouTubers have been advocating for hardcore are not in the spirit of the mode, and I think that they detract from what makes hardcore so special, and this like meteoric rise in popularity in hardcore has been very surprising, and it's a pleasant surprise. I'm very happy to see the servers. I mean, Bloodsail is full. Bloodsail is a full population server on NA, and that's amazing. That it's been like resuscitated. It's great, but I think that this newfound popularity has also caused problems because a lot of people don't like the rules of the add-on for some reason, citing that they're too restrictive. But I think that the magic of the mode as we're experiencing it now is because those rules are in place. I think that, we're going to react to the video, but ultimately I think that the auction house and mailing and trading being disabled, the TLDR, if you don't want to watch the video, is that I think that the auction house trading and mailing should be limited to level 60 characters because these things being disabled make loot and profession gear and everything so much more valuable during your run, and that is like kind of what makes hardcore so special. I just did a Razorfen Downs run last night on my on a character. I just did a Razorfen Downs run last night, and I had like 2 pieces of gear drop, and everybody in my run had a piece of gear drop for them. The Robes of the Lich dropped from my Warlock, and he like practically jumped out of his chair. So, like, loot is just so much more valuable when it's harder to come by. And I think that by being able to buy gear on the auction house, like somebody linked Little Timmy's pea shooter in the guild chat a couple days ago, and everyone was like, "Whoa, grats, bro!" It was a hunter, and he linked Little Timmy's pea shooter, and everybody was like, "Wow, grats, that's huge." Blue drop, whoa. You can actually use that, and in the version of hardcore, let's call it the official hardcore from Blizzard, if they allow the auction house, somebody's just going to buy Little Timmy's pea shooter for 5 gold, and no one's going to bat an eye, no one's going to care. It's like, it's going to trivialize the game. The guy's going to pump until like level 30 with this item, and it's just going to cheapen gear. Like somebody links Edgemaster's Handguard is in the chat, and everyone's flipping out and saying, "Fake, there's no way that dropped. That's amazing. That's the craziest drop I've ever seen." And if somebody links Edgemaster's Handguard on official hardcore, it's like, how much did you pay for that? What was that, like 800 gold for that drop? How much did you pay for that? So we'll get into the video, but TLDR, I think that the rules should largely stay the same, and I'll expound on that anymore. So thanks for bearing with me, and let's get this started. Or actually, yeah, it's too late. Let's get started.
So I'm going to be totally honest. I just got done writing up a video script for like a 15-minute long video talking about the upcoming Classic WoW hardcore servers, which are...
By the way, just huge shout out to StaySafe, pillar of the hardcore community. I hope you don't mind me reacting to your video. I've never done this before. I'm not trying to be like a React Andy or anything. I haven't been able to stop thinking about this for like 2 days. It's eating me up. So huge shout out to StaySafe. Big viewer of the stream. Love his videos. Love his personality, his brand. He's an OG hardcore player. He was in Road to Rag. Like, just a total G of the community. shout out to Power Gum. Buy Power Gum. If I, I'm unable to chew it right now, but if I was able to chew gum, I would chew Power Gum. Code 10% off. Discount code hardcore on Power Gum. Here we go.
Are all but confirmed, and we can talk about that here in a minute. But I'm sort of unhappy with the script, and I just want to do more of a low-key conversational type of video and sort of walk through all of these bullet points with you guys. We're talking about hardcore Classic WoW gameplay rules, but we're going to get there in a minute. First off, the reason I say hardcore Classic WoW servers are all but confirmed, some news broke the other day that the Classic WoW Hardcore Community Council, some of the moderators and add-on developers, I think, met with Blizzard and had a talk in the last couple weeks about Classic WoW Hardcore servers. That was a big announcement. Mike Ibarra, who is the president of Activision Blizzard, is now... He's playing Classic WoW Hardcore. He made a Classic WoW Hardcore character, the president of Blizzard. That's a big deal, right? That shows some interest internally. And the other big deal is that Classic WoW Client patch 1.15 has been data mined and confirmed. So Blizzard is definitely doing something. They're making changes to the Classic Client. It's going to be Classic Hardcore servers.
So this could be either hardcore or SOM 2, but there will be hardcore by the end of 2024. There's definitely a demand for it. So in some way, shape, or form, hardcore will be coming out. So it's definitely worth having this conversation.
I think we're all aware that at some point in the next year, probably 6 months, they're going to be doing hardcore servers, maybe even sooner than that. Fingers crossed. It's going to happen. But that opens up the door for a very interesting conversation regarding the hardcore Classic WoW rules. Now, of course, so far over the last 3.5 years, the player base has invented their own rules. And these rules, you're looking at them right now. I think a lot of these rules have been very, very important actually, because we don't have official hardcore servers, right? Given that we don't have official hardcore servers, it's very, very hard to know with 100% certainty who is hardcore, who is not hardcore. It's very easy to cheat or lie or die and then continue playing. And I think it's been a very good idea to have some of these gameplay regulating rules to make sure that every individual's hardcore experience is not being hindered or destroyed by other fraudulent players, okay?
I mean, I don't really know so much about fraudulent players. The add-on was really... The rules were really codified with the add-on. The whole players playing with people that aren't dead. I mean, when Cargos first invented hardcore, the rule set for himself, he didn't have anyone to do dungeons with. The idea of doing a hardcore dungeon wasn't even a thing. Like... Eventually, Cargos and like Grays and a couple other guys, they would make videos about like mortal, warrior, shaman, and paladin or whatever. Like warrior 3-man team, it goes into the dead mines. Death equals delete. Like, and all those videos are still up. Shout out to Cargos for making this amazing mode. But the idea of doing a hardcore dungeon, it wasn't even around. He didn't think of it yet. It was literally just solo self-found. It was him RPing on Bloodsail on a dead server and just having a good time and vibing and playing Classic WoW. That's what it was about. The hardcore add-on is what came about with Road to Rag and like, oh, well, how do we know people are dead? And before then, you used to have to record or stream and save the VODs on your entire run. So like three plus days /played, you would have to have entirely recorded. And then like Cargos and like a couple of mods would like manually review the run. Like go through the VODs, make sure you didn't die, and then you would get added to the Hall of Legends. And the add-on does that now. So a lot of these rules, it was designed to be a solo self-found challenge, and the add-on codified systems in place to make sure that like people, if you died, it would screen cap your thing. You'd screen cap your game. Like you can inspect players and go to the hardcore tab and see if they're still legit. So all of that was covered in the add-on. The rule set itself was created by Cargos as a solo self-found challenge.
It's a very important thing that's been going on. So I'm a big fan of the rules so far, but if we get official hardcore servers where the gameplay is more structured from Blizzard themselves, I think a lot of these rules we don't actually need.
Disagree. That's why I'm making the video. Respectfully disagree, but disagree.
And I think that hardcore could be way more fun and way better if we actually got rid of some of these rules, given we have actual regulated, defined hardcore servers. So I want to actually talk through all of these community rules with you guys and talk about which ones I think are good and should stay, and which ones I think are bad and should go. So let's just have that conversation in a very low-key way. The first one is death equals delete. You only have one life, and if you die, you must delete your character. Yeah, this is obvious. So this is something that Blizzard would edit the World of Warcraft Classic client to facilitate and monitor. Whereas if you die on the official hardcore servers, you cannot res. I don't even care if you delete your character. I think that's unnecessary. I think it's kind of cool if you can keep your character in ghost form and you can have hardcore ghost parties where it's like a gathering of ghost hardcore players that have died as time has gone on. That's kind of cool, actually. It's like sort of an RP event. So just disable every single resurrection functionality, okay? This is battle res, this is soulstone, this is onk, this is whatever normal resurrection abilities. Get rid of all of it. You cannot res. Get rid of spirit res. If you die, you can't res, okay? I don't care if you delete. Don't make people delete. Let them keep their ghost form, but you can't res. Okay, so that's something that Blizzard needs to internally, infrastructurally do on their end. They need to disable all of those resurrection abilities. That's like the most fundamental piece of these hardcore servers.
Okay, yeah. Obviously goes without saying, hardcore, the ultimate rule is death equals delete. I'm not going to drag out the video to 20 minutes. Expounding upon that, that's what it is. No Ankh, no resurrection, no soulstone. If you're dead, if your HP reaches 0, you are dead. That is it. No, oh, well, I've seen some comments about this. I'm sorry, but like, no, you die, and then, oh, well, you go to the shadow zone, and then you come back as an undead, and you start in death knell, and then if you die again, then you delete. No. If you die, you're dead, and you should just, like, that character should just be, I think it should just be deleted. I don't know, with the whole RP thing, like, that could be cool depending on what they do. I just think your character should just be like your name, like, could you reserve your name or something? I don't know, but like, it's unimportant. But death equals delete, obviously.
Moving on. Professions. I'm going to float an idea past you guys. This is what I would love to see. This is really my key point of the video, honestly. So it's important for me to mention this pretty early. I want to see 2 game modes on the official hardcore servers.
I already am reserved, like, I'm already kind of quaking in my boots at the idea of 2 game modes. Bloodsail and, like, the popularity of the mode is great, but just because Bloodsail is full pop doesn't really mean, like, the mode hardcore has the population to support, like, 2 separate game modes, like, divide itself in half and have 2 separate game modes. Like, I pre-watched the video and I know what he's going to say, but I don't think that dividing the player base is really ever a good thing. Like, the WoW population is already divided between retail and classic, but there's a big enough difference between retail and classic to justify the division. Like, people that play classic, classic is a different enough experience from retail to warrant it existing. Like, what he's about to talk about, like, I don't really think it's warranted.
I want to see hardcore game mode where you're able to group, you're able to trade, you are able to use the auction house, you're able to do dungeons as many times as you want, you're able to use the mailbox.
I think that's just not a good idea. That this is the crux of the video. I've seen this from StaySafe. I've seen it from some other guys that are some other YouTubers that have been talking about this. To me, this just sounds like era with permadeath. And I don't think that era with permadeath makes the gameplay different enough to warrant a new server. I just don't. Hardcore, as it is right now, is not era with permadeath. Hardcore is played on era servers, but the mechanics and the rules make it different enough of an experience that people are playing it. Like, a lot. A lot of people are playing it, and a lot of people are having fun with it, because it's something that, quite frankly, WoW has never done before. When MMOs first came out, things like EverQuest and these other MMOs, they were very punishing. They were hardcore games. Like if you died, you lost your inventory, you lost XP, you lost like your some cases you would lose your character. WoW came out and blew MMOs up and became like the game because it was simpler and more forgiving than those other MMOs. When you died, you just corpse walk to your character and you spawn back in. And that's annoying, but you don't lose anything. You didn't lose gear, you didn't lose XP, you didn't lose reputation. You just lost a minute of your time corpse walking. Not a big deal. Now, it's kind of the other way around. Now people kind of like hardcore games now. Games like DayZ that came out from the DayZ mod for Arma 2. A lot of people play DayZ. A lot of people play Rust. A lot of people play Escape from Tarkov before it got infested with cheaters. There's a sizable amount of people that play games like Arma, like DCS, the flight simulator. Like a lot of people play realistic-y / hardcore games now. They've definitely grown in popularity from where they were 10 years ago as a genre. Now, hardcore has blown up because it's so different from retail. It's so different from classic era. It's different from Wrath. You can't use the auction house. You can't buy gear because you're not allowed to interface with the auction house. You can't send mail. You can't buy gold. And let's be honest, everyone remembers in Nax patch, Classic 2019, the last patch, Azeroth was dead. Okay? Everyone was buying gold and leveling in dungeons. They were all getting boosted by mages. And the people that didn't buy gold received purchased gold that was circulated through GDKPs. All the pug raids were GDKPs. So when you allow the auction house, and this I alluded to this at the TLDR at the start of the video, you cheapen the value of gear. You give gear a market value by allowing the auction house in place. When the auction house is not in place and you have one dungeon run, you have one dungeon ID per dungeon per life, when Corpse Maker drops, you flip out. When White Mane Chapeau drops, the priest and the mage in your group duel to the death. They makara for that drop, okay? When any important gear drops, even if it's a world drop, it matters so much more because it's harder to get gear. If you allow the auction house, then that world drop green that you fished up because you fish, which you wouldn't normally do. Like fishing has become like the BIS secondary profession right up there with first aid because you can't buy potions from the auction house for cheap because you don't have one. You can't buy BOE greens for 2 gold because there's no auction house, so you have to go find them. And it becomes so much more valuable when you have something drop that has stats that you can use and it's the right armor type than if you just went on the auction house and applied a couple of filters and paid a couple gold. Personally, I don't think that the auction house offers enough benefits to warrant it being included in a hardcore mode. I think it just detracts from what is hardcore. Hardcore isn't just death equals delete. They could add permadeath era servers, which is apparently what a lot of people want because they're making these videos. Hardcore is it's harder to acquire gear. It's, you're locked into 2 professions and you can't trade with players while you're leveling. Hardcore is the rule set as it is now. There could be a couple of changes. Because of hardcore is so popular, I think you should allow group leveling. You should be able to invite to group up in the open world to get a quest mob. Because in the starter zones, dude, it's ruthless, man. You try and kill Zalazane, you try and kill the Burning Blade Orc and the Valley of Trials, and, you try and kill a quest mob at level 5, and forget about it. There's a line 20 players long, and there's a bunch of rogues and shamans and mages that are ready to snipe that tag. So you should be able to group while leveling if you want to, and death equals delete. If you group for an elite quest and you pull too many mobs and you die, death equals delete. I think that that's fine. But otherwise, I think that the rule set as it is now is pretty good. We can talk about trading, like, like that can be a conversation. Like, trading is the one thing I would compromise on. If we could get no auction house and no mailbox, but players can trade from level 1, I'm fine with that. I could put up with that. But absolutely no auction house and no mailing, because not only does it cheapen gear, but it also enables a bunch of nasty avenues that players will use to funnel gold onto their characters one way or another. And with how long it takes to level a hardcore character, especially when you don't have the best gear, it takes longer. Players will buy gold. They will find a way. And we'll get into that a little further on.
All you can't do is die. I want that to be game mode 1 hardcore, where you can't die, but everything else you can do.
At the very least, that should be a separate server. But I hate the idea of splitting the player base between, like, era with permadeath and, like, the hardcore, like, let's call it the add-on rule set, right? Because let's say, like we just know, like, it's like splitting the player base between era and TBC and era and Wrath. Era was dead. Era was dead for a long time. Like Era didn't even start to come back to life until they did, like, the server merges, until they did the server clusters. Like, there were videos about that, about how Era was dead, and there were like 2 people in Stormwind. I think Asmongold did a video where he interviewed some dude that's like, yeah, we can get like a dungeon together like once a week, but we don't have enough people to raid, and but I like playing Era, and now Era is back up because Wrath and Retail can't, like, they can't hold their interest, so they come back to Classic, because for whatever reason, Vanilla is just special. It's just a great game. It's fun to play. It's immersive, and we love it. But splitting the player base is I just don't think it's a good idea. You need to settle on a rule set and pick a rule set. Just settle on one. But I think if you pick the era with permadeath, if you pick either option, if you pick one option, you're isolating the other group of players, and you're kind of like taking away their game. Like, a lot of people like the hardcore the hardcore with the rule set now. And by taking that away from us, you're you're just kind of taking away our game. Like, if the hardcore servers are essentially just era with permadeath, you might say, oh, well, you always have the add-on. But what server am I going to play on? The add-on announces deaths. The add-on has the cross-guild chat. The add-on has all that. Are we gonna stay on Bloodsail, or are we gonna pick a new server? And I like running hardcore dungeons with people. Like, are there going to be enough players leveling in the world using the old add-on still? I don't know. I'm hesitant about the idea of splitting the player base.
And there's going to be a tiny little couple stipulations with that, but that's the idea. And then game mode number 2, which is solo hardcore, meaning you are entirely solo always. Of course you can't die, but also you can never group. You can never trade. You can never. In other game modes, this is called solo self-found. Path of Exile has this. Old School RuneScape has this. A bunch of other hardcore game modes in other games have solo self-found. It's a common game term, okay?
I think that StaySafe didn't expand on this enough. I'd like to get his I'd like to just get clarification on this before I like really comment on it. But I think solo self-found as it is now, like as the add-on rule set is now, is fine. You can talk about trading, but really the only 2 things I would change about the add-on rules are open world grouping is allowed, and I would debate trading. Like pre-60, I would debate trading, but everything else I think is fine.
Okay, so I want like kind of multiplayer hardcore, and then I want solo hardcore.
But no one's gonna play solo hardcore. So like taking it as what he said, like you can never group, you can never trade. No one is gonna do that, because what are you gonna do at 60? A lot of the appeal of hardcore right now is like how far can you raid at 60 without dying? Like can you clear Nax? Can you get 40 god gamers to clear every raid and not die and clear Nax deathless. Can you do that? That's what they're trying to do. They just cleared BWL. Like, people, like, the end game is raiding. And in a lot of the communities, they say, oh, well, we need the auction house, we need to trade. They're getting along fine without it. And those 60 guilds are so tightly knit. Everybody knows everybody. When someone dies, everyone goes, oh my god, they just died. Oh god. They have, like, people that are, like, dedicated profession specialists that make flasks, and other players gather materials for them. And I just think that is a much closer, like, that is much closer to, like, what Blizzard's philosophy was when WoW was created than, like, having the auction house and any. It really just comes down to the auction house, man. Just because then those players are going to start being like, oh, well, why would I give away Petri flasks to new 60s when I can just sell them on the auction house? Go farm gold and buy them. Or, we all know what happened in 2019 where people were buying gold for raid consumes. They just were. They do it in retail. Didn't like Method get busted for, like, gold mining? Everyone does that. They all do that. Nobody's gonna go farm gold in hardcore for their consumes. It's just not gonna happen. So the second that you open up the auction house, there will be people that are buying gold. It's just gonna happen. So the 60 guilds right now are getting along just fine without it. They don't need that.
And I want you to be able to select which of those modes you want at the character creation screen. That's perfect. And so under that premise, under that desire that I have, we can talk about these rules through that lens. So professions right now. Under the current hardcore rules on the Classic Era servers, enchanting is a no-go. You are not able to level enchanting because enchanting, you need to make rods, the golden rod, the arcanite rod, and you need to make those with blacksmithing. Well, most people are not going to level mining to level blacksmithing, to make rods, to drop blacksmithing, to level enchanting, and now they have the rods. That's ridiculous. No one is doing it. No one does that.
That's true, but how many people level enchanting while they're leveling their character anyway? I mean, it's kind of a dead profession. Like, you don't really level enchanting while you're leveling your character anyway. But what they could do is they could just make the rods, like, you could just have an NPC that sells you the rods. Right? I don't know, or you can just make the rods tradable. There's definitely ways around it. But, like, to me, that's just, like, not a very impactful point because I don't really see a lot of people leveling enchanting while they're leveling their character. I could be wrong about that. That could just be me. But I think that that's a pretty minor fix. The way that the add-ons are currently, the way the rules are currently, I don't know. But, there could be workarounds for that. Like, you could just have an NPC sell the rods or whatever,
Right now, if you hit level 60, there's a level 60 guild where the trade restrictions are over, and now at level 60, people will level enchanting. But when you're leveling up, no one is leveling enchanting, and it's kind of a shame.
Well, no one really levels it while they're leveling, but okay.
So under this game mode proposition that I have come up with, you've effectively unlocked +1 profession. That's another profession's worth of content you can play with while you're leveling because now you can trade. That's awesome. So the profession thing, you get enchanting under this new game mode that I really think they should do. Talents, that's fine. You can use all the talents you want. Gear and items. So I would love it if there was and I'm gonna talk about gear and items, auction house, and trading because these are all.
I guess even if people do level enchanting for like the wands or whatever, like all the caster like uber sweaty caster guys that are like, nah, I level enchanting. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, if they allow trading, then you can just get a blacksmith to make you the rods. That's not a big deal. Like I said, this entire video really just comes down to I don't want the auction house and I don't want mailing because you're just going to have dudes. Even if you mail a hardcore character 100 gold, Blizzard's not going to ban you for mailing a hardcore character 100 gold. They're not going to do that. Blizzard banned gold sellers like once. And it wasn't, I don't even think a lot of them actually got banned. Maybe they banned the bots and they just like slap on the wristed the gold sellers. But they They did a ban wave during SOM, but it wasn't even that bad, and people still kept buying gold. So
all more economic aspects of hardcore. It would be so cool to have a hardcore economy.
we have one. We have one right now. The hardcore economy is you farm for yourself. That's hardcore. The hardcore economy is not you have other people make you things. It's just you farm for yourself. That's what it is. Because the second you bring in the auction house, the problem is like, well, the argument is, well, everything on the auction house would be hardcore. It's like, but the gold that buys those items is not necessarily hardcore. There is the possibility that people will bring outside gold through RMT into the game, and they can't do it now because there's no auction house. There's no reason for anyone to buy gold. There's no reason for any gold sellers to put bots to farm the gold because there's no market for it. But the second that you put an auction house, you are putting a market into the game that facilitates those interactions.
Normally, when you're playing Classic WoW, there are botters, there are gold buyers, there are gold sellers.
And they will remain. They will find their way onto the realm. If the hardcore realm is full, if that thing says high pop or full, there will be bots. There will be.
The economy for a long time now, we're all aware, has been kind of... That's one of the reasons why a lot of us like hardcore. If we have official hardcore servers where if you die once, that character is done, it can never resurrect, the whole botting thing is like not an issue. I don't know if you guys...
That's just not true. I'm sorry. That's just not true. So the bot just has to pay for itself. The bot has to make $15 a month for the person running the bot. Hardcore gold, I would imagine, would be more expensive than regular gold, but I'm pretty sure regular vanilla gold goes for about like 1,000 gold for like $10. So assuming regular vanilla gold prices, the bot would just have to make 1,500 gold. There are ways that a bot can make 1,500 gold running 24/7, 365. There are ways that the bot cannot die and farm gold. I don't know those ways because I don't run bots, but clearly bots are profitable, or we would have not had the problem and we would not be continuing to deal with the problem. And for the entirety of WoW's existence, like, there have been bots and there has been RMT and there will still be RMT. So like, instead of the bot farming like max level content, I mean, it got so bad that like people are like recording bots flying around in the air and Blizzard's not banning the bots. We don't remember this. We don't remember 2019 Classic, how bad the botting got. Like, we don't remember that. It's just going to come back. If the server is popular enough, there will be bots. There's bots in Wrath right now. Like, all those people when you /who Botanica, not all of those people are real players. There are some real players, but they're not all real players. There aren't 500 players on one server going into the Botanica and farming it with like their Death Knight or their Prop Paladin. Like, most of those players that you see are bots.
Know this, bots die a lot. They die a lot. You're not going to have Zul'Farrak mage bots. You're not going to have Maraudon bots.
I'm not privy to the bots. I don't know like what the death rates are on those, but they don't have to do Zul'Farrak and Maraudon to be profitable. You could literally have a bot that just like AoE grinds like mobs in like the Swamp of Sorrows or like Hillsbrad Foothills or whatever. And it's like a level 60 bot and they just tell it to go AoE grind mobs in a certain location. And as long as it's bringing in more money than the sub and the cost to run the program, they're going to keep doing it.
You might have fishing bots.
That would also suck because I love fishing and I don't want a bot taking my pools. That's terrible. That alone is enough for me to veto that.
The most. And then you report them and hopefully Blizzard bans them. But outside of that, Other bots.
Which they don't. Like, let's be honest, they don't. And is Blizzard really about to hire a bunch of game masters? We've been begging them to for years, and they won't do it. So why are they going to do it now? Just because Mike Ybarra is going to see a bot fly over his head in a Maraudon? I just don't think that that's a reasonable expectation.
Bots, excuse me, are not really going to be manifesting on these hardcore servers. I'm sure people will try, but nowhere near with the same amount of success as they are right now.
Any bots are negative to the game, and there are 0 bots right now, the way the rule set is. With no auction house, there are no bots.
So it would be so beautiful to have a pristine hardcore economy where you know that every single item, every single silver, every single gold that people are transacting between each other, it's authentic.
That would be great, and I agree that it would be cool, but it's not going to happen. And the reason it's not going to happen is because you cannot guarantee that the gold is genuine. You can't guarantee, because if there is an auction house, if there is a mailing system that allows players to send and receive items, there will be RMT. And Blizzard is not going to ban someone for getting 100 gold in the mail. Hell, they don't ban somebody for getting 1,000 gold in the mail with a nice little letter in Chinese characters on an NA server with a health pot attached to it. They're not going to get banned. So there is no way to guarantee that the gold that is on the server is genuine unless there is no auction house. Because if there's no auction house, then there's a very limited, if any, market for materials, and therefore no one sells gold and no one buys gold.
It's actually from another player. So I would love to be able to sell a green piece of leather gear to a druid that I got on my warrior, and then he trades me 57 silver for it. That's awesome. I think all of us can agree when we're playing hardcore right now on the Classic Era servers that the biggest thing you're missing out on is that social element that has been stripped away necessarily, by the way. I'm not hating on the rules. I think the rules are important given the dynamic we have now, because we're not playing on official hardcore servers. I think the rules are important now, but
I have actually had a very social experience playing hardcore. The guild chat is connected. That they have the green walls, so you're talking to people from a bunch of different guilds that are registered on that. Guild chat is live all day. I play at all times of the day, and guild chat is always popping. It's always cringe. You know, there's always something to talk about. People always have something on their minds. You wave to people in the world. You talk to people in the world. If you're a low level waiting in line for the quest mob, you're talking. Like, you know, like I've had a very social experience playing the game, and and you can have a social experience without trading in the open world with other players. But that's something that we can talk about. We can talk if we just made a video talking about trading and talking about grouping. That would be great. But I will iterate again. Absolutely no auction house, and mailing should be restricted to 60 characters only. When you're level 60, you should be able to mail things to other players. If you want to mail profession goods and consumables and reagents and gear to each other, or if you want to trade that and if you want to set a price on that, and you both parties agree to trade this for this amount of money, no problem with that. That's a cash transaction to me. No problem. But the second you try and whip out a credit card, no thanks.
I would love to have more economic and social gameplay on the official hardcore servers, because now we know who's hardcore and who's actually not. So you could be trading gear.
And I mean, even then, like, people will like if you allow, it's a vicious combination, because if you don't allow the auction house, but you allow mailing from level 1, and you allow trading, what's going to stop degenerates from RMTing, buying the gold, and then getting it traded in person between each other? Does Blizzard even have the ability to detect trades like that? And if they do, what's the ban threshold on that? Because to me, anything more, any amount of gold before level 60 is bannable if you're trading from, like, RMT. Just the way the challenge is now is good. Nobody's RMTing. Nobody's buying gold. You can't, because you can't use the mailbox. So how are you going to buy gold? There's no way to give it to you. I think that that's great. I think that the way the economy is now is like pretty good. Because I think that Blizzard can't effectively police it otherwise. And that's been proven through Classic 2019, TBC, and Wrath. It's been proven. And to be honest, it's been proven in retail too, because you see all those Chinese level 60 to 70 speed leveling advertisements. It's like people are buying WoW tokens to pay those people for gold. So they're arm-teeing with Blizzard, and we've already, as a community, everybody already kind of knows the score on that one.
Back and forth. And if you don't want to do that, then don't do it, or play solo hardcore, which is the other game mode we're talking about in a minute.
No one's going to play that if it's actually solo self-found, no dungeons, no raids, nothing. That's DOA. No one's going to play that because people love doing hardcore dungeons with each other, and people love doing hardcore raids. And that's really where the end game is. So if you isolate the players that like the challenge the way it is now by doing this like classic plus like game mode where it's like Arrow with permadeath, I just don't think it's going to go over well. I think it's going to be we're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Just because you have permadeath, it's not going to prevent some guy RMTing. So like a service RMTing, like camping their bot mailbox character on the mailbox in Orgrimmar or Stormwind and sending gold. And Termis will just, there's a real chance that Termis will kill the bank alt in Stormwind. Then they'll just use their bank alts in Ironforge. How are you gonna kite Termis to Ironforge? Does anybody even do that? They'll just put their character in Darnassus, dude. Like, it doesn't matter. So what's gonna stop? We got to think a little bit out of the box. What's going to stop the RMT company from buying a sub, putting a bot on the hardcore server? They could even level it by hand. It's profitable enough. We've seen how many people love to buy gold. It's profitable enough. They could level their 60 mage by hand, not die. Or somebody could just sell them an account where they're level 60. And then they have their level 60. They go and they do the safest farm that generates the most profit. They'll figure out what it is, whether it's open world farming or botting for materials or whatever it is they'll do. And then they'll mail that gold to a bank character that is cozy in Ironforge or wherever they are. And then that bank character will send the gold off to whoever's buying it via the mail system. That's how it would work. The reason that it doesn't work now is because the auction house and the mailing are disabled.
Auction house. You would know every single item on that auction house is legit, is authentic, has been farmed by another hardcore player.
The items would be, but not the gold buying them.
Just like you. That's badass. Trading too. Same deal. It's all real. And
trading would work if there's no mailbox.
You can help each other level professions. You can trade profession items back and forth. You can enchant each other's gear.
Which honestly, the more that I think about it, being able to trade for profession gear would make profession gear pretty valuable still, and I think that would be a good thing. So really, no auction house and no mailbox until you're 60.
You can make potions, you can make armor kits, you can make bandages, you can make food buffs, you can make so many elixirs, you can make so many things that would just...
Which kind of already happens at 60, though. So the thing with that is, like, you would kind of cheapen the challenge. Like, the whole reason profession gear is important is because you can only pick 2, right? So, like, a lot of engineers, they'll start skinning, and they'll skin until they get light and medium leather, and then they'll drop it for engineering, and then they'll get their goggles, right? Or you can be a Giga Chad, and you can just go mining engineering from the jump, and then you can fish, and you can fish off the coast of the Barrens for chests. And then you can get skinning, you can get leather from chests to make your goggles. So, like, a lot of the value in the profession gear comes from its scarcity. I mean, that's what value is, right? Value is derived from scarcity.
Really make the hardcore leveling experience blossom and flourish. It would add so much to it.
I don't necessarily know about that because it's already very nice the way that it is. aside from like not being able to do group quests like as they were designed to be done, I think it's pretty good.
Buffs and player interaction. You can if you so now we're talking more like social elements, buffs and player interaction, grouping, and dungeons. Let's talk about these three. This tier here, these are social interactions. It would be so nice to be able to group up for elite quests or to do dungeons multiple times if you want. I think
Disagree on dungeons multiple times, because dungeons multiple times, as it is right now, you get one dungeon ID per dungeon per life. You can only do each dungeon one time. When you go into the dungeon, you are praying for that big item that you want. When you go into Wailing Caverns as a hunter and Venom Strike drops, you freak out. You jump out of your chair, you start clapping your hands, and you go, "Let's go!" That the 10% drop chance item dropped on your only dungeon run for that dungeon. And likewise, if your tank dies in the dungeon and you can't finish it, you're bummed, because that's it. That's your dungeon run. It adds tension. Everyone's on their game. Even though it's 20-year-old content and it's easy, you're still, the likelihood or the specter of death still looms over the dungeon. You've done dead mines 1,000 times, but if you're overconfident, you could die and scuff your run. Like when Corpse Maker drops, like items that have a low drop chance, like 1 in 3, 20%, 10%, people freak out when these drop because you can only do it once. If you can farm that dungeon 3 or 4 times to improve the likelihood of that dropping, it's not as impactful. It loses a lot of the weight. And that's what is making hardcore so fun for people right now. It's the scarcity of the loot. It's the intensity. It's going into the dungeon and going, damn, Whitemane better drop that chapeau or I'm going to be pissed. Like, that's what's really making it so fun. It's not even necessarily like, you know, obviously death equals delete like really alters how you play the game. But ultimately it's like, when Bow of Searing Arrows drops off of a random mob in the world, it gets posted to YouTube. If you can buy Bow of Searing Arrows off the auction house, no one's going to care. No one's linking that in chat. You know?
I think probably the most fun part about hardcore leveling right now is the thrill and the rush of going into a dungeon with people maybe you don't know very well and what's going to happen.
Yes, because you can only do it once. That's the key. The key is that you can only do it once and death equals delete. So if you get Corpse Maker, you are jumping for joy. When you get Venom Strike, everyone's like, damn.
It's hilarious. It's drama. That's one of the highlights of hardcore gameplay is doing dungeons. And the fact that it's limited right now, it sucks.
No, it's because it's limited that it's so good. You can do as many dungeons as you want at 60, but leveling up, you know what gear you got from what dungeon. I still have Venom Strike in my bank. I have Venom Strike in my bank on my hunter because that was such a rare drop. If I could do Wailing Caverns 10 times to farm that, I wouldn't say anything about it. I you know what I would say? I would be ungrateful. I'd be like, it took me 10 dungeons for Venom Strike to drop. I would be an ungrateful piece of shit. Instead, that thing is hallowed. It has a spot in my bank. Every time I open my bank, I look at that bow and I go, damn, I'm lucky that dropped. I can't lose this character. I can't die. I look at it all the time. Damn. I can't. I just did this run. I can't lose this. I can't lose this, man. I can't lose it. Like, it's because the 1 to 60 dungeons, you can only run them once.
I say open that up. Do dungeons. If you want to do elite quests with other people, that's fine. Do it.
Absolutely yes for elite quests. You should be able to do those with other players. Death equals delete.
And if you don't do it. Just don't do it. Right? It's that simple. And buffs, yeah, it's fine. Who cares? Who
Yeah, who cares? Yeah, agree with the buffs. You should be able to ask for buffs. What's the big deal? Why can't you ask the priest running past you for a buff? What's the big deal? Death equals delete, bro.
cares? Forbidden abilities and actions. This one is actually quite an interesting component here. I'm going to read through all of these. Warlocks can't resurrect via Soulstone, obviously, because what has to happen before you can Soulstone or Shaman Ankh? You have to die. So, therefore, you have died. Ankh, Soulstone, you disable those abilities. Blizzard, you disable those abilities, Blizzard. Paladins can't Bubble Hearth. I think you would have to prohibit using a Hearthstone while bubbled. You could probably code that in pretty easily. Or you could just remove the max rank of bubble. The max rank of bubble is what, 12 seconds? Get rid of the max rank, and then you actually literally can't Bubble Hearth. There's a couple ways you could approach that. You can't allow Bubble Hearth. It's a free life-saving ability on an hour-long cooldown. It's overpowered. You got to get rid of it. It's uniquely different from Vanish or Feign Death because Vanish and Feign Death can fail. It's not a guaranteed life save. Bubble Hearth is. You got to do something about Bubble Hearth. No using the auto unstuck feature to teleport to major cities. That's good. You can flip that off. I would also get rid of the instance teleport function where you see it all the time where hardcore groups, one person dies, everyone's freaking out. It's every man for himself now, and people start leaving the group because if you leave a group inside of a dungeon instance within 60 or 70 seconds, you get teleported out. Flip that off. That's lame. That's lame. Either you can run out of the dungeon or you're dying. Okay, that's.
I could go either way on that. When you're level 60 and you have like 10 days slash played on your character, obviously you're going to want to keep in the Petri Flask drop group combination. The fact that people even thought to do that is a testament to the mode. It literally just makes the point that I'm making that because the rule set is the way it is right now, people have learned so much about the game, even though it's a 20-year-old game. People have still learned so much about the game, and they've come up with new ways to interact with it, and like new metas have popped up. Like the fact that fishing is like anybody now knows how important fishing is. Like hardcore all-stars where these guys are twinking out their tunes. I ask them in their chat. Go in Tactics' chat and next time he's streaming and ask him how many casts he did fishing for his hardcore tune, his all-star tune. Ask him. It's over like 5,000 casts. Like these dudes like to twink out their characters. They just sat there fishing pools for like days to get drops. Like people know how important fishing is, and it just got bashed, and nobody really cared about it. I mean, most people only knew that like if fishing was for like alchemy reagents, like deviant fish or like oily blackmouth stuff like that. I mean, like fishing is just so much better in hardcore. Like the people didn't even think to use Petri flasks before. They thought it was just a waste. I mean, lips are really important now. There's so many things that are important because the rules are the way they are. So I don't know, but I could go either way. If they took out the Petri flask, people would find something else. They would just use lips. Everyone would just go into a 60 dungeon with a lip, and then you would just bubble and lip people, and they would get out. So either way.
That's what I would prefer, so flip that off. That's my... even that, though, I really don't care very much about. It's not that big of a deal. What I would do... This is probably the most controversial opinion in this video. I would disable Flask of Petrification. I would delete the item. I think it makes a really, really cringe, boring level 60 hardcore meta where people are only going into level 60 dungeons if they've made Petri Flasks and there's no risk involved. If everyone's got Petri Flasks, then literally nothing can go wrong.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it still does go wrong, and people do still fuck it up and they die. But yeah, it's true, and it kind of defeats. It definitely lessens the it lessens the risk of the challenge. But in the same vein that the auction house lessens the difficulty of the challenge, if you can buy gear while leveling, like like I'm still using green gear, and I'm in like my character's like like I got the current one that I'm playing now is in the like high 40s. And I'm still using green gear, man. Like I had a chess piece for like 20 levels, bro, because I couldn't just buy the next piece of the next incremental upgrade off the auction house. So I would like I've been arguing that the whole video that the auction house cheapens the game just as much, if not more, than a meta that was created, an item that found new value because people had to operate under a different rule set. The whole point of hardcore is that it's a different rule set. If you expand the rule set to just be era with permadeath, people are gonna it's gonna be like a cat playing with yarn. It's gonna be fun for a little while, and then people are just gonna drop it and they're never gonna play it again. The second that they lose their level 60 character, if it's just era with permadeath, they're gonna log out of Bloodsail Buccaneers and they're gonna log back into Whitemane. And that's it.
It's boring. What you're welcome to disagree. Please, if you disagree, let me know. I think it is.
And era is great. Era is great. I love the fact that we have era. Era needs to be around forever. Like, I would pay like a different amount of money than a monthly sub if Blizzard said we're gonna shut down era like 5 years from now. If Blizzard goes, yeah, we're gonna shut down era unless you guys pay like $20 a month for era, I would do it, because era is that important. It's that important to just leave like vanilla available, because it's a sandbox and it's like the greatest game ever made and we all love it. Leave vanilla available, but like, please keep hardcore like relatively the way it is, because it's just such a different experience, and that's a good thing. Not everything is for everyone. All these people in the comments going, the comments of all these videos, all these guys going, well, I don't play hardcore now, but if they made it era with permadeath, then I would play it. They would play it for one life. They would die at level 40 in STV, and then they would drop it, and they would go back to their characters on era, or they would go back to their characters on retail. And they would say, well, that was fun, but I'm dead now, and I don't want to lose 2 days slash played again, 3-4 days slash played again, so I'm going to go back to my other characters. So all these people that, if you want to play hardcore, you want to try it, by all means, get on that server, try it. It's popping. Quite frankly, you're missing out if you're not playing it. But please don't come in and try and change what's there. It's pretty good the way it is. A lot of thought went into the rule set. They tried to think of everything in the rule set, and they tried their best, and I think they did a pretty great job. Just the way it is right now, and that's a testament to the servers being full. Clearly they did a good job and people are enjoying the mode, or they wouldn't be playing it. So please don't, like, all these guys who are on saying that they're on the sidelines because it's not casual it's not casual enough, or it's not this enough, or it's not that enough. Not everything is for everybody. If everybody liked vanilla, there would be no chocolate. There are people that like retail. There are people that like Wrath. There are people that like TBC. There are people that like Classic. And there are people that like Classic Hardcore. So everyone can find their niche and play the game that they want to play. But I just don't think era with permadeath is enough of a gameplay difference to warrant in another official server. I think that if they did an official server with the add-on rules, with no auction house, and you could trade. You can trade with other players, but you can't use the auction house, and you can't use mail until you're level 60. I think that that's probably the best that you can get.
Is diametrically opposed to the hardcore playset, to the hardcore mindset. That's what I think. Store mounts, there are no...
Not relevant. It's Classic.
Store mounts on hardcore servers. Well, I think this rule is often misinterpreted. At 60, this is a weird rule. I think this rule is often misinterpreted, or it's kind of hazy. Ignore this rule. Even at 60 on official hardcore servers, if you die, you have to delete. Or not delete, but you can't res. Okay? That's of course, that's a given. 60 does not grant immortality. PvP and battlegrounds. You are free to engage...
Go play era, bro. Go play era. If you want a world PvP, personally, it's most likely they're going to release a PvE server. If they release a PvP and PvE server, I will be surprised, because hardcore PvP server would be like insane. If anyone made it past level 20, I would be surprised. Especially like as the server aged. But just play Era, man. Or just play retail. Play Arena, play Wrath, play Era. Like PvP, you don't need to PvP in hardcore. It doesn't make sense. Like you can duel, obviously, but like queuing battlegrounds and hardcore, that just doesn't make any sense.
Age in World PvP, STV Arena, the Gurubashi Arena.
You should be able to PvP in the Gurubashi Arena though. If you're a level 45 and you're in STV and you roll up to the arena, yo, it's what happens in Gurubashi stays in Gurubashi, baby. If there's a rogue stealth up in there and you walk in and you get deleted, death equals delete, baby. Delete your character, because what happens in Bashi stays in Bashi, baby. Bashi is a war zone. And that's awesome. That's flavor. That's sick. That's cool. People would do that for content. People would go into Gurubashi to farm content, and that's sick.
Yeah, I'm saying let PvP be what it is. If you want to PvP, if you want to risk dying, if you want to go inside that Gurubashi arena to try to make your Gurubashi Grandmaster trinket, good luck. Good luck, but you can't complain about it if you die.
I would camp that. I would make a rogue and camp that. I don't even play rogue. I would level up a rogue to like level 45. I would just log in on it like Payo every once in a while, dude, and just sit and wait, man. Dude, that would be so sick. That's flavor. That's what makes Classic so good. That's why people come back, because there's places like the whole rest of the world on a PvE server, your PvE flag, they gotta come up with all this creative like bullshit to like grief people or whatever. That Blizzard's probably gonna like try and remove a lot of those things on the official server. But if you stroll up, if that exploration bar says Gurubashi Arena, baby, dude, if you get popped, you get popped. That's flavor. That's what we love, dude. That's what makes it the best game ever.
Have you ever heard of the phrase high risk, high reward? That's exactly what that is. You can't try to go for the high risk and then complain. Oh no, you can't. I got it backwards. You can't try to go for the high reward and then complain about the high risk. That's not fair. It doesn't work like that. Okay, no complaining. If you want to risk it for the biscuit, then do it, but no complaining. The other really important thing I wanted to talk about is, if you have the regular hardcore game mode, remember 2 game modes, regular sort of multiplayer hardcore and solo hardcore, which I would love to have. You need to have some little restrictions on grouping.
I really want him to expand. What does solo hardcore mean? Is that like the add-on rules? Or is that like you turn Classic into a single player RPG? Because I know that he's making the Zone Man challenge, and that's sick. I love his Zone Man videos, by the way. I've watched them all. I think they're great. I'm going to try it when he releases the add-on. Like, if that was like the hardcore, like, solo server, I would play that. I would give that a try.
Because you don't want to see a boosting meta where, let's say someone...
Yes, people will boost. And especially if you can RMT, people will boost. It's literally just going to be 2019 again. There's going to be a bunch of casual landies that don't want to level, and some sweaty-ass mage is going to come out of the woodwork, and he's going to come back in, and he's going to level like 3 mages to 60, and he's just going to be able to do the run without dying, dude. It's going to happen. Like, how many times did your mage even die boosting? It's really not a lot. It was more of like a gear issue. Like, I guess that would be like how boosting dungeons would be now. Like, if you tried to boost dungeons on a hardcore server right now, it'd really be a gear issue, because at most, people would have BWL gear. But, like, you would know the mage that does the boosting, and a lot of people would probably, like, shame them for doing it. I don't know. Like, on an official hardcore server, I mean, really, like, people weren't really taking off, like, on boosting until what? They got at least full BWL gear, right? If not, like, AQ40 gear. I don't know. I'm definitely not the most well-versed on, like, the different tiers and everything. But I think it might be pretty hard to boost now for most mages. Like, if they were to try and boost in, like, Molten Core gear, like, I don't know.
Let's say I level a mage to level 60, and I start selling or offering for free, because I'm a nice guy, boosting services on my level 60 mage, and I'm boosting level 20 players in Deadmines.
And they'll do it, man. They'll do it.
Well, that's lame. That is obviously stupid. So I think you need to have some sort of rule preventing people from grouping up if their levels are too disparate. Okay, so if you're level 20 and I'm level 60, we can't even join a group.
Yeah, I agree.
I would have like probably a 10 level leeway. So if you're
I wouldn't even do 10 levels. I'd do like 5 levels. What business would a level 40 have grouping with a level 30? To do what? 10 levels is even too much. Like honestly, like what? Like what would a level 30 have business grouping with a level 40 with? What, you get 5 warriors together so that they can give this guy the Whirlwind Axe at level 30? Like 5 levels at most.
you're 20, you could be with.
Actually, 5 levels is good because like there's like, you know, your healer could be 39 and your tank could be 44 and you could do like armory. You know, yeah. So I think 5 levels would be good.
With a 30, but not a 31, something like that. I think that's a very important rule to have also. But I really, really, really think it'd be a shame to have these official hardcore servers, and we're going to get them. We're going to get them. It'd be a shame to have these official hardcore servers and bring with us these rules that were implemented on classic era hardcore servers because we didn't have official hardcore servers.
No, those rules are what everyone's playing on right now. Those rules are what hardcore is. Those rules have made hardcore the experience that it is today. And when I'm done with this video, you're goddamn right I'm going back and leveling my undead warrior. You're goddamn right. I've been thinking about it all day. You're goddamn right. I'm going to go the second that I'm done reacting to this and I post it on YouTube, I'm going back to playing games. You know? Like, what rules are really that bad? Like, ultimately, what are we talking about here? We're talking about the auction house. We're talking about whether or not we should be grouping in the open world. And we're talking about whether or not we should be trading with each other. And dungeons. Whether or not we should be doing one dungeon. I think, in summation, that we should no auction house at least until you're level 60. If you're level 60, the 60s can go out and farm mats and post them on the auction house if they want to. If that's like a player market, that's fine. Because I don't really see like the ultimate one is no mailbox. And the reason it's no mailbox is because no mailbox prevents outside money from coming into the game. Like, it maybe not prevents it, because if you have the auction house, then people can just list materials for ludicrously high prices. And bots on the server could buy those items. And that's how people would get gold. But I guess the way that the auction house works currently, you would have to have the mailbox. Because when you buy something off the auction house, it comes in through the mailbox. So they're kind of linked. And ultimately, I think that unless they retooled the auction house so that you could have a market for level 60 players, which I don't think that they could do. Like, it would kind of more be like a peer-to-peer, like, transaction. So it'd be kind of like a like a board, maybe like kind of like a job board, and you could post like, okay, I want it kind of be like the crafting system in Dragonflight that no one uses, where it'd be like, hey, I want someone to give me 10 peace bloom, and I'll give them 20 silver for that. And then you could like message the player and meet up and perform the trade. If it was something like that, that's pretty harmless, but they're not going to do that. It's either all or nothing. It's either auction house or no auction house. And if the auction house can't function without the mailbox, then they come as a package. Auction mailbox or no auction mailbox. And I'm for no auction mailbox. I think that there are too many detriments, and I think that they really degrade the challenge, especially leveling. If you can buy gear while leveling, it completely removes the value of that gear to you personally. It completely removes the wow factor of that gear. The same thing with running dungeons multiple times. I think you should be able to run a dungeon once per dungeon until you're level 60. And then when you're level 60, you should be instance capped to like 3 runs a day, something like that. If you want to run UBRS 3 times to farm previous gear, fine. But the reason that you would instance cap it is to prevent mages and paladins from solo farming dungeons for gold to inflate the economy. So you eliminate, if you want to use your 3 lockouts to go farm, not 3 global lockouts, but like 3 lockouts per dungeon. If you want to be a mage and you want to go farm ZF for 3 dungeons for some raw silver, some raw gold, that's fine. But if you do it any more than that, if you do your 5 instance per hour per day lockout, you know, you're going to have mages that just farm this dungeon all day. And that might even be a way to prevent botting, too. I mean, if you severely restrict the amount of times that you can enter an instance a day, you're going to prevent... My voice is kind of going on me here. I'm not used to talking this much. I'll be surprised if anybody even watches this an hour 10 already. I really didn't expect it to... Asmongold taught me well, I guess. Really didn't expect it to go on this much. But if you limit the amount of dungeons that, the amount of runs you can do per dungeon per day, you're also going to limit the amount of income that bots make. So that could be another way to limit the botting issue. Maybe you could even explore, you could even kind of do some research and try to explore like how limiting the dungeons would affect bot income, because maybe you could implement the auction house in the mailbox if you limited the amount of times you could enter a dungeon every day. Because if a bot, if a level 60 bot can farm ZF safely, if it farms ZF all day, how much gold does it make? So what happens if you cut that gold by only allowing players to enter a dungeon at most 1 dungeon 3 times per day? Does that bot still make enough money to justify its existence? Yes or no? So it's possible that you could limit bot income by instance capping, but we don't know. So in my mind, the way it is right now, no auction house, no mail, unless you're level 60, mailing to other 60s. StaySafe can convince me on the trading. I'll allow trading. I think trading would be okay. People would abuse it, but it would also be easy to tell if people are walking around with blues and shit. Somehow they shuffled those onto their character. So trading is allowed. And then one dungeon ID per dungeon up to 60. And then when you're 60, let's say that you can run a dungeon 3 times. You can run each dungeon 3 times a day, in a day, in a 24-hour cycle. And I think that pretty much covers everything, and I think that preserves the integrity of the challenge. It preserves the uniqueness of items and the value of gear and drops. And I think it preserves a lot of the WoW factor that hardcore offers that other versions of the game don't. And we'll just listen to what StaySafe has to say for the last minute, and then I'll probably wrap it up.
A lot of these rules are completely unnecessary if we have official hardcore servers. To be clear, right now they are necessary. But going into official hardcore servers, I think if as a community we were to bring these rules with us, some of these rules, right, the ones we talked about, it would just take away from the gameplay.
I think that if you add them, it'll take away from the gameplay. If you add the auction house, it'll take away from the gameplay. If you want to use the auction house, go log on to Whitemane or Mancrick, or whatever, Firemar, or whatever the EU ones are. I've said the whole video, and no one will probably watch this video because it's probably going to suck, but I'll say it again. If you, Era with permadeath is not different enough. Era with no auction house, no mailing, limited trading, limited dungeons, that's different. Era with permadeath is not different enough to warrant a server. It's just not. They could enable permadeath. Why would they add a server? They could just enable an option for permadeath on the servers that are already there. They could just do what Turtle WoW does, and they could do you can play the game normally, or you can talk to this shady guy under a tree and enable hardcore mode. Like, why would they add a server if it's just going to be era with permadeath? It doesn't make any sense.
And I'm afraid that going forward into official hardcore servers, people are going to say, well, we should just have some of these rules because we've always had these rules. We've always done it, so we should keep on doing it. That's bad logic. Don't do that. Don't think like that. You need to come up with a rule set that is appropriate for the server type that you're on.
And I would flip that, argument, and I would say that by advocating for the auction house and advocating for the mailing and advocating for all the old economy systems that we've had in the game for 20 years into this special mode, I think that that's bad logic. I think that that's doing the same thing over and over again. How did all the fresh servers go? How does a fresh server go? A fresh server is good for like 2 months, and then there's bots, and then the content gets a little stale. People don't have the patience to farm mats anymore. You know, the economy kind of settles. People start buying gold. You know, GDKPs start getting run. And prices start going up. You know, inflating. You kind of price out regular farm people who would normally farm materials, and they start buying gold. If we do that with the hardcore servers, it is just such a wasted opportunity. It's such a shame. I just please implore the community, if you guys want the auction house, just please think a little bit out of the box. Try and run some thought experiments, run some eventualities. Just ask yourself, because anybody that's a game developer always says that the players will do the worst thing. The players will do the worst action that you expect them to do, not the best. The players will grief where they find room to grief. They will exploit where they find room to exploit. Players, and they will not act in their own best interest either. Like, it's in the best interest of people to not buy gold and inflate the prices. But if it's easier for them, then they will do it. It doesn't matter what the consequences are. So please, this game mode is amazing. It's awesome. It's addicting. It's like the most fun for me I've had playing WoW. And I think it's the most fun for a lot of people they've had playing WoW. Otherwise, they wouldn't play it. And we've also got a lot of new people playing WoW. It's attracting new players because it's offering something different. Please, we already have Era. We already have retail. If you want to go flip the auction house, go play retail, bro. Go watch a Student Albatross video about how to make gold, flipping transmog on retail if you want to flip the auction house. There's so many more posts there. It's so much better than flipping an auction house with like 2,000 people online. Like, please. The game mode is so different. It's so unique. That's what makes it good. If Blizzard releases hardcore official servers, that's where people are going to play. And if it's bad, it's kind of just going to kill all the momentum that we have. And then where are we going to go? Are we going to go make another add-on community? Are we going to regress to back when it was just cargoes holding it down on Bloodsail? Making RP videos? Like, I just really want people to take another look at this. And it's been eating me up for the last 2 days. And honestly, I'm kind of nervous. If they put in the auction house, man, I'm nervous, dude. I could be wrong. I could not know what I'm talking about. This whole video could be just me making my throat sore for an hour and a half, talking to no one, getting like 10 views. But I could be wrong, but I feel pretty strongly about this. I feel strongly enough to actually post a video going over it. And I'd like to thank StaySafe and everybody for putting these videos out there, getting the conversation started. But I really hope we don't do the auction house, man. It opens up so much room for abuse. And it just really, and it's like ultimately, you know, if you don't think the auction house opens up the avenue for RMT, that's fine. But the one thing the auction house definitely does is it devalues like BOE world drops. It devalues those green items that you find in fishing trunks. It devalues Little Timmy's pea shooter. It devalues. It just takes away the magic of getting loot. You know, like even just today, there were on the Dead Mines. They did another Dead Mines race today, And even just today, there was this retail guy. Apparently, he's like the best, like Trip. He's like apparently the best retail player in the world. Like he's like the best World of Warcraft player ever or whatever. And he was playing a Warlock, and he got a Fire Wand dropped on his circuit run. He wasn't leveling enchanting. He wasn't. He just elected to go without a wand, and if it dropped, it dropped, and it dropped, and the casters were like, "Oh my god, oh my god, Trip got a fire wand, it dropped! Wow, that's amazing!" That wouldn't happen if there was an auction house. They would have to put in a rule, because otherwise people would just post the auction house. They would just flood the auction house with wands for the players. Like, so they would have to put in a rule that says you can't buy items from the auction house to keep the spirit of the challenge. So that's proof in the pudding right there. Like, that's what makes hardcore sick, dude. That's what makes it so cool, is that on a circuit run with money on the line, a fire wand drops for a warlock. Cool shit like that. Like hunter, green bow drops for a hunter on their circuit run. You know? 3 Agi battle axe, level 10 drops for a hunter, you know? Like sick stuff like that. That just wouldn't, that just no, like it would just be cheapened if the auction house was a thing, you know?
Okay, these rules are good now, but I think a lot of these rules would be bad on official hardcore servers. So I think it's important to have this conversation. But I think I'm probably going to wrap it up. We talked about a lot. Thank you guys very much for listening to me ramble and complain and give my half-baked ideas. I do appreciate it. Please, this is an important conversation to have, so please do drop a comment, like the video if you liked it, send this to a friend of yours so they can watch it and give their feedback on hardcore servers. This is a big deal. Thank you guys very much. Thank you, and as always, stay safe.
Thank you, StaySafe, for making the video. Thank you, hopefully, for letting me react to it. I'm not a big React Andy guy. I don't know how people feel about other people reacting to their videos. So I hope that I didn't step on any toes in rambling for an hour and 22 minutes. That's insane. I hope that somebody listens to this and maybe got something to think about, or had like any insight from this video. Please leave a comment. You don't have to leave a like or anything like that, but just leave a comment if you have something to say. If you agree with it, feel free to share it with other people. If you disagree with it, feel free to share it with other people. I just think it's an important conversation to have, like StaySafe said. It's important enough for just a WoW player. Just not somebody that's, I'm not a content creator. I'm just a player. I'm just a guy who likes hardcore. Just a guy who likes to play hardcore. And thanks very much for listening to the video. And, have fun in Azeroth, man. We love the game, bro. Have fun.